Hi, I'm Mary Barella Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution.
And I'm Mike Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution and Motto Mortgage Express.
Today we're going over our final series in Sellers 101, the closing. Yay!
So what happens to bring the contract to a close? As sellers agents, our job is to make sure that all loose ends are wrapped up. So a week before, we're going to check with the lender to make sure that everything is good with the loan. We want to make sure that there's no issues that's going to prevent the property from closing on the scheduled date.
There you go.
One of the things that has to happen 3 days before the closing is that the borrower's closing disclosure has to go out. And that's a requirement by the government. And if it doesn't go out 3 days before, then our closing is delayed.
The lender has to send this document to the buyer. The buyer has to review it and sign it. If it's literally not signed 3 days before closing, then closing is delayed.
The other thing we're going to do is we're going to review the inspection resolution that our sellers agreed to, and we're going to make sure that all the items that they said they were going to do are complete, and that any receipts that were generated by the people that did the work have been provided to the buyer.
Yep, there you go. It's very, very important that we take care of that. And typically we're going to be on top of our seller during the transaction and be checking frequently with them to make sure that the work has been completed.
Right, because before the closing, the buyer is going to do a walkthrough, and they're going to go through that inspection resolution list and make sure that those items were complete.
There you go. And besides checking those items, they're just making sure the refrigerator's still there. If a washer and dryer was included, is the washer and dryer still there? They're checking to make sure that there isn't any trash or furniture left in the property unless it was a part of the contract. And then they're going to notify us if there is an issue.
Our seller is responsible for removing all their personal property and trash and debris from the property before closing.
And if we get a call, like I got a call a couple days ago where the tenant hadn't, he removed his property, he did move out. My seller had hired a house cleaner who went in and cleaned it up, and it was very nice. So buyer's agent calls me, we're here at our walkthrough, everything looks good, thank you for the house cleaning, but there's some trash in the backyard that hasn't been taken care of, and there are some items in the crawl space. There was an old printer and some books, I'm not sure what all, and they just wanted it removed. So then I notified my seller, and she took care of it so that when the closing happens, buyer can get their keys, and we negotiated that at closing, they got the keys, and they were able to move in.
Day of closing, we all meet at the title company. Sellers sit on one side of the table, buyers sit on the other side of the table, and the closer sits in the middle and passes out documents.
There you go. Now, Mike's giving the perfect scenario in the old days. I call it the old days, the beginning of 2020, when that's what we all did. And now because of social distancing, it's a little bit different. The title companies will have the buyers in one room, the sellers in the other room, and usually at different times. And you can't bring extra people to come hang out in the closing anymore. Everyone wears a mask, and we get everything signed. And then we leave items with the closer. This morning, my sellers left the keys, the garage door opener, and some other documents for the buyers that we're going to sign later today. So then my closer could give those to the buyers when they signed by themselves in the closing room.
Right. So once the keys are given to the buyers, seller gets their funds, and then we're closed. And it's all done.
I'm not sure if we talked about post-occupancy agreement. I know in our buyers series we did, but sometimes in our market, because it's a seller's market, a buyer and a seller have negotiated a post-occupancy agreement. And if that's the case, it means the seller is now going to, at closing, pay the buyer a deposit and a certain amount of money per day to stay in the house for up to 30 days, sometimes 60 days, but usually 30 days. Because in a seller's market, it's a little more challenging for our sellers to find a home that they're going to move into. So it gives them a little bit of extra time, so they only have to do one move. And if that's the case, then at closing, we don't hand any keys over to the buyers because the seller's going to still be living there. But on the day of possession that's been negotiated between the two parties, they'll both meet at the property, walk through it, make sure it looks good, empty and clean, and at that point, the the buyer, who has become the owner, gives the deposit check back to the seller, who now is the tenant, and they hand over the keys. So it's just, there's a few things that have changed, and it all depends on the negotiated agreement at the very beginning. And that's why it's important to have experienced agents like Mike and I that are going to know how to market the property, get the best offer for our seller, including negotiating possession terms like post-occupancy agreement, and who can make this transaction run smoothly and know all the steps, and will bring it to completion so that you can move on in your life without any stress, or with just a little bit of stress. So there you have it.
That's the end of our Sellers 101 series. Thank you for coming.
And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell notification. And please reach out to us if you need any help, or if you want to share this with friends or family or coworkers. We're always excited to get the word out there and let people know that we're here to help. Mary Barella Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution, and my wonderful husband,
Mike Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution and Mono Mortgage Express.
You take care, be well, and have a great day.